Guys, we have officially made it. It is week 0 in college football. This is the You Think You Know Sports podcast. It has been some time since our last podcast episode. We were trying to get through all the teams in college football and do a preview during the course of the offseason. Things got busy, things happened. We're back with the original idea of doing previews for games each week during the season. And that's where we're at. So I apologize for anybody who was regularly listening, but we're here now. It is August 21st. We are 8 days from the start of college football, and I wanted to go ahead and get a podcast episode out previewing these 8 week 0 college football games. It is going to be a really fun season. I cannot wait to see what happens, not only in the SEC and Big Ten and Big 12 and ACC, but along the group of 6. We've now got the new Pac-12. There is a lot to look forward to this year, but I want to jump right into it. I want to get right into these games that are taking place in week 0. And it all starts with North Carolina and TCU, a game that is taking place in Dublin, Ireland. We saw this last year with the Iowa State game against Kansas State, where the Cyclones got the victory. There was a lot of excitement last year going into the 2025 season for North Carolina. Not only a lot of excitement, a lot of controversy. So you hire Bill Belichick, you expect things to improve, maybe not immediately, but you expect North Carolina to be a pretty competitive team in the ACC. Well, that did not happen. North Carolina got blown out by TCU in this nationally televised Labor Day game that everybody's looking forward to. They got outgained 542 to 222. Okay. They won the first down count by almost 20 last year in the game as well. So it was a complete blowout, 48 to 14 in favor of the Horned Frogs. Now this year is going to be different looking rosters. There's not that continuity that you had last year from last year. So new quarterbacks for both teams, new offensive coordinators for both teams. You've got, Josh Hoover was the quarterback at TCU last year. He's now moved on to Indiana. He's playing for Curt Cignetti, right? So that is a big loss for TCU. Now, obviously, Sonny Dykes and others have kind of talked about the turnover issues that Hoover had, and I don't think that should go under the radar. I think it's very valid to say those things about Josh Hoover and his performance last year. But now TCU is handing the keys over to Jaden Craig. And probably the casual college football fan hasn't heard of Jaden Craig, and I completely understand why. But he was at Harvard, and he set all kinds of records. He has the career record for passing yards and touchdown passes for the Crimson. And now he comes over to play big boy football. Not that they don't play big boy football in the Ivy League, but he's coming over to the Big 12. And it's going to be interesting in front of this national audience. Now, obviously not in the United States, but nationally televised audience to see how he's able to play. TCU has got a lot of experience back on the offensive line, which is huge because North Carolina has got some pass rushers back this year as well on a defense that I felt like improved throughout the year last year. More on Jaden Craig. Against Dartmouth, Yale, Penn, and Villanova, he had 11 touchdowns and 4 picks and a 2-2 record as a team. Against everybody else they played last year, his completion percentage was 7.5 points higher, 14 touchdowns and 3 picks. So when they played a little bit tougher competition, you did see a little bit more of a challenge for a guy who made it look fairly easy in the Ivy League. On the other side, his quarterback, opponent, Billy Edwards, has had an interesting career, right? So he was at Maryland, ended up at Wisconsin, got hurt. But when he was at Maryland, he actually did pretty well getting the ball down the field, okay? His last healthy starting season, he had almost 3,000 yards passing, 15 touchdowns, 9 picks. He only played a couple games for the Badgers last year. Edwards had some interesting games. Like they upset USC in 2024, and he completed 39 of 50 passes, 78% completion rate. That doesn't happen very often on 50 passes where you complete that high of a percentage. And they beat the Trojans. They upset them 29-28. But Edwards didn't play much last year. 7 of 16 last year, 113 yards, had the injury. So which guy are we going to get, right? Are we getting the Billy Edwards that lit up USC and Lincoln Riley a couple years ago? Or are we getting the Billy Edwards that was in a horrific Wisconsin offense that averaged 12 points a game last year and just couldn't get out of their own way while their defense played amazing against the nation's best schedule? Obviously, he was injured. He didn't play very much. But, back in 2024, he opened the year with 7 straight 250-yard games. So I'm interested to see what we're going to get. The other part of this that's very fascinating that I certainly don't want to bury is Bobby Petrino is now the head coach, or not the head coach, I was a coordinator at North Carolina under Bill Belichick. So you've got a guy in Belichick who's known for his defense, and now you've got Petrino who comes over from Arkansas, where they just could not win a close game last year. And obviously the offense wasn't the issue. They averaged over 30 points a game. They were in every game. It was that Arkansas couldn't get off the field when it needed to. Taylon Green is a very different player than Billy Edwards. That was Arkansas's quarterback last year. But certainly very, very difficult to stop a Petrino offense when you have the right personnel in place. North Carolina's roster looks a lot different. One big name that's back is defensive end Melkar Abu-Jaude, who had 10.5 sacks last year and should have another monster year. That TCU offensive line, with some of the experience that they have coming back, that is going to be a real challenge in this game, something to watch. I really felt like the Belichick defense really did improve as the year went on last year. I thought you could see it. Now, some of the opponents, like they played Syracuse, who didn't have any quarterback after Steve Angeli went down. I did think that we started to see that defense start to play with some of the things you see from Belichick defenses over the years, but certainly a long ways to go there. And look, the other thing is there any advantage for Belichick with playing the international game? He's dealt with all kinds of crazy stuff as an NFL head coach. I don't know. That'll be interesting. I mean, used to, if you gave Bill Belichick as much time as he's getting to game plan and scout you, you were in trouble, right? But that certainly was not the case in the opener last year. I think it's going to be a super competitive game. I think it's very important for both teams. TCU's got a chance to really get on a run. If they can win this one, the next 3 are all very winnable before they play BYU in what would be a very, very big game on October the 3rd. And then North Carolina, with the game in TCU against TCU, then East Tennessee State, they go to Clemson and Notre Dame September 19th and October 3rd. You certainly could be 1-3 very quickly, right? And you don't want to do that if you're the Tar Heels. So I think this is a really, really big game for both teams. Cannot wait to see what happens in Dublin. I make all my picks on the Friday before the game. I thought about doing it a little bit earlier this year. We'll see. But typically do it on the Friday before all the games are played. Talk about a team that's under pressure. Kind of transitioning here from North Carolina. Man, USC. It just feels like this is it, right? Like if USC is ever going to the college football playoff, I just don't know if Lincoln Riley can get them there if this isn't the year. Because they return more starters than any team in the country, okay? Which is, it's hard to top that, right? Jaden Maeva is back at quarterback. King Miller is back at running back. Listen, Lincoln Riley has got everything he could ever want on this roster. Plenty of offense. The defense obviously is the question mark, but they should be able to score. They've got the offensive line is back. Now, losing Killen O'Connor to an injury, a season-ending injury, the center, is going to be something to watch for USC. Their opponent in this game, San Jose State, in the opener. San Jose State doesn't have Walker Aguette anymore. He is now at Duke, transferring over from the Aztecs. He's going to be a name that you need to get to know if you're an ACC fan this year. He will throw the ball down the field on you. And I think it's going to be fun to see how he comes in and kind of replicates what Darian Mensah was doing there. Luke Weaver has come over at quarterback for San Jose State. He was at Hawaii last year. He played a little bit when Micah Alejado got hurt. He had 628 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 picks. So it's going to be a lot different, I think, for the Aztecs last year. He only had 3 games with 10 pass attempts. It's going to be interesting to see how that goes. But he did play in games that mattered because Alejado missed some games. Last year, he dealt with injuries throughout the year. He was 27 of 43 with 3 touchdowns against Sam Houston State. And he did throw the game-winning touchdown pass in the Hawaii Bowl against California. That was a great game on Christmas Eve, always on Christmas Eve. This USC defense is going to be what we learn about here, though, right? Like, we know that USC has got the passing game. They should have the running game to be able to move up and down the field with ease against some teams, and you would expect the Aztecs to fall in that, especially considering all that they bring back and the offensive line. But there are, again, things to watch. We're going to have to see about O'Connor's replacement at center and what Lincoln Riley does there. And then USC has got Fresno next week, and then they play Louisiana, then they go to Rutgers, and then things get really real. I'm not saying Fresno can't challenge them. I'm not saying a trip to New Jersey can't challenge them. But USC playing Oregon, Washington, at Penn State, at Wisconsin, Ohio State, and at Indiana in a 6-game stretch, that is going to be quite a challenge for the Trojans as we get further into this season. Let's transition now to talk about maybe the most competitive game in week 0, North Carolina State and Virginia. This was a game last year that was not a conference game. You know, they played each other in non-conference. NC State won a very close game, an interception at the end of the game. I believe it was 35-31 Wolfpack. If that had been a conference game, Virginia's not in the ACC championship game last year. People forget, I think casual fans forget, that the Cavaliers were this close, and my fingers are as close together as they can possibly be in the air right now, to drive home emphasis to a ghost, I guess, to nobody, is they would have been in the college football playoff if they had beaten Duke last year, right? Instead, they ended up on the outside after losing that ACC championship game. And this is a Virginia team that, again, expects to be really, really good this year. I've said it. I've analyzed it. I believe that their schedule sets up well for them again. The teams that aren't on this schedule pop out at you. I mean, Miami is not on this schedule. Louisville is not on this schedule. They do go to SMU, okay? But, you know, they have California, which comes to Virginia, all right? So there are a lot of, like, Duke comes to Virginia. North Carolina comes to Virginia. They do go to Virginia Tech at the end of the year. They don't play Clemson. So there's a lot missing as far as the challengers in the ACC from this Virginia schedule. And, you know, they also play, I believe it's 2 of the 3 teams that play on the road 3 straight weeks this year out of Power 4 college football. I think they're the last team to play 2 of those teams that do that. So they're going to get tired teams coming to them. I put a post up about that on TikTok. Go check it out. It's been a month or so since I posted it, but it's there if you scroll. They've got Bo Pribula at quarterback. You know, Bo Pribula comes over from Missouri. He beat out Eli Holston, the Pittsburgh transfer, for the quarterback spot. And I'm interested to see what this offense is going to look like because they only have 3 starters returning now. They're all on the offensive line. You know, Virginia expects to be able to line up and run the football at you. And they've got a deep running back plethora of players there. Jaquel Middlebrook is from Middle Tennessee. You've got Tennessee transfer Peyton Lewis as well. UAB transfer Solomon Beebe is also in the mix. So there are a lot of guys that can get the football for this Virginia team. Defensively, they've got a handful of starters back on that side of the ball. They were so good on third down last year. They were one of the best teams in the country at getting you off the field on third down. It is so hard to replicate that year over year. But Virginia's got enough pieces that they can keep that in mind and maybe continue some of that this year. I mean, listen, if an offense that you're playing against can't get third downs, you're giving your offense the ball back and you're frustrating the opponent. And Virginia did that as well as anybody in the country last year. On the other side of this game is one of the more interesting teams in college football. So this is a conference game this year. I want to make sure I point that out. This is an ACC game. This counts, okay? And it could be very impactful as the year goes on. CJ Bailey is back again for NC State, okay? And if you're a Wolfpack fan or if you're just in general somebody who knows Atlantic Coast Conference football, then you know CJ Bailey well. And you know how rare it is in the year of 2026 in college football to have a third-year returning starter. That just doesn't seem to happen in 2026, but that is the case for CJ Bailey and the Wolfpack and Dave Doeren. The other thing I'll tell you, the team that has the longest stretch in the ACC without losing an opener is NC State. It's been since 2017 that the Wolfpack lost a season-opening game. They've got to go on the road to Virginia. This game was originally going to be in Brazil, but it got moved. So the game is at Virginia. All right. So that's a challenge. There's no question about it. They've also got to move on from Hollywood Smothers, who has moved on to Texas to be the running back there. So Duke Scott, Jaden Scott, Duke Scott is going to be the starting running back for the Wolfpack this year. They do not have a lot back on defense. There are question marks on offense. They only have two returning starters. Keenan Jackson is back at wide receiver, two returning starters on the offensive line. So this NC State team has questions, but the one place they don't have a question is at quarterback, where we know that CJ Bailey can make plays with both his legs and his feet. They averaged about 30 points a game last year. I think they got to even get more than that. They gave up 27 points per game last year. The defense is going to have to play better. This is such a monumental game for both of these teams. Both teams believe that they can compete at the top of the ACC. The ACC feels open behind Miami. We know that. We know that teams feel like they can qualify for this championship game. Clemson has been down a little bit, not even in the preseason AP Top 25. Virginia and NC State among those next few teams knocking at the door. This game matters in week 0. It is maybe the most impactful game of week 0. And I think it features two teams that truly believe they have a shot to make the playoff if things bounce their way. NC State, look, they don't have Virginia's schedule, but they also don't play Miami. They do go to Vanderbilt in a couple weeks. Louisville comes to them. They do have to go to Stanford, that West Coast trip. And they end the year with games at Florida State and at North Carolina. But you know what? Sign me up for that schedule. I think NC State is a team that could absolutely find itself in the middle of the rankings midway through the year. If they can get through this Virginia game and beat Vanderbilt, get to that Louisville game, we'll see what happens, right? I'm very excited by this one. I think this is a huge game as part of week 0. All right, let's transition to one of the more other interesting games in week 0 that not enough people are going to be talking about outside the state of North Dakota. For years we have heard about North Dakota State, their dominance in the FCS, and people have wondered, for good reason, how good they would do if they could get up to the FBS level, right? Like if this was a team at the FBS level, how good would they be? Like obviously, they're not at the level of some of the elite Power 4 schools, but could they compete to be the best group of 5 or group of 6 now team every year in college football, right? We're going to find out. North Dakota State, is now an FBS program. And they're playing a team that made that jump not all that long ago in Jacksonville State. This game is in North Dakota, in Fargo, and it's going to be a lot of fun as one of these week 0 games that just flies under the radar just a little bit. And I wish it didn't, because I think both of these teams are going to be pretty good this year. Let's start with Jacksonville State. Outside of the service academies, meaning Army, Navy, Air Force, and Rice, which I've joked it kind of operated like a service academy offense last year for the Owls. They ran it so much. Jacksonville State ran it, outside of those 4, they ran it more than anybody in the country last year. So this is a team that had Cam Cook in the backfield. He ran for over 1,600 yards, 16 touchdowns. He's not there anymore. He's at West Virginia. Mountaineer fans have got to be super excited. But they do have Caden Krill, who's back at quarterback. Krill can run. He can throw. He's definitely a dual threat player. And I am fired up to see this Jacksonville State team play on the road at North Dakota State, a team that we've just been waiting on this moment, man. We have been waiting on this moment. It looks like Nathan Hayes is the quarterback there. He played a little bit last year. He played in 10 games, but only recorded 10 pass attempts in one game. North Dakota State was ahead, right? Like we know how dominant this team has been at the FCS level against most teams that they've played over the years. And so never really was he in a situation where he had to go out and win a game for North Dakota State. I am fascinated by how this is going to look, because what my guess is that the public is thinking North Dakota State, man, they're the FBS level. This is their first game. They're favorited by, I think, like a touchdown in this game. And everybody's like, here we go. Here we go. And I'm telling you, Jacksonville State is a proud program. They have got some guys on that team. And I absolutely believe that this is going to be a very, very fun matchup. Jacksonville State's got 5 guys back on defense. They've got 9 players back altogether. This is a team that can absolutely give the Bison a tough game. The last time they met was in 2016, by the way. It was in the FCS National Championship game. Jacksonville State leads the series 2-1. They played a great game against UCF last year in the opener and lost. North Dakota State had won 8 in a row in their openers until they lost to Deion Sanders, Shador, Travis Hunter, and Colorado in 2024, and a pretty fun game a few years ago to open the season. Now, while we're talking about teams that make their jump up to FBS, I want to be quick on this game because I know there's not quite as much interest, but I want to talk about all of the Week 0 games. That's important to me here on the You Think You Know Sports podcast. Hope that you'll go check us out on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, wherever you get your sports information, deep dive analytics and data. That's what we do here. And I'm glad you're listening. But Sacramento State at Eastern Michigan, look, I understand, okay? It's not as exciting as talking about NC State and Virginia, okay? But at the same time, this is also Sacramento State's first ever game at the FBS level, okay? So I don't want to leave them out. They're not North Dakota State. Also, by the way, this is maybe the second most consequential game of the weekend. This is a MAC conference game. Like, this game counts in the MAC standings. Sacramento State's got a brand new head coach in Alonzo Carter. They have 44 new additions. This is going to be a very different looking Sacramento State team as they move in to the FBS level. The one player they have back that you've probably never heard of unless you watch FCS football is Rodney Curtis. He enters the FBS with the second most rushing yards among active D1 players. He has 17 100-yard games. Dude can play. Eastern Michigan is excited, though. This is a team that has their quarterback back for the first time in a long time. Noah Kim started every game last year for Eastern Michigan. And this is the first time since in a decade. I think it was 2015. But the first time in a decade, I'll just say that they have the same starting quarterback. Okay? Kim had 18 touchdowns, 11 picks, and 6 rushing scores. He ranked second, or EMU ranked second last year in the MAC in passing offense. Sacramento State's quarterback, if you're interested, is Carson Conklin. He was at Fresno State last year, backing up E.J. Warner. He had a touchdown and 2 picks, 2-1 in 3 starts. All right, let's keep going here, guys. Listen, I know that one's not quite as interesting. We do have a video up on it. New Mexico State at Florida State. Another one that you would expect to be an upset, right? When the Aggies go to play the Noles in Doak Campbell Stadium, tickets are pretty cheap. I don't live too far away from there. Tickets are not expensive. And I think part of that tells the story of where this Florida State team is right now. I don't think the casual college football fan remembers just how far they have to go. This is a team that was the worst team in conference play in the ACC the last 2 years combined, by 2 games. They won 2 less games than the next worst team, which I think was Boston College. Okay, yeah, 3 years ago they were unbeaten in the regular season until the Jordan Travis injury, and they lost the bowl game to Georgia and got destroyed, and it was a completely different team, and then just have not been the same, right? But I think the ticket sales for the opener, and I know it's New Mexico State, I think that tells the story of where Florida State fans are right now with Mike Norvell and with this program. Expectations are as low as I ever remember. Florida State fans are talking about who's next, who's the next head coach, instead of talking about Ashton Daniels being the quarterback coming over from Auburn, being a dual threat, right? Instead of talking about Trey Wisner, the running back. Instead of talking about Deuce Robinson, who is a game breaker, man. He had 56 catches last year and 6 touchdowns. He had 5 120-yard games. That was the second most in the country, right? I mean, Tommy Castellanos is gone, but Ashton Daniels can run it too. The big problem I think Florida State had last year, Castellanos was their leading rusher, okay? And I think Ashton Daniels is going to be their leading rusher this year. He had 35 total touchdowns at Auburn and Stanford. He ran it pretty well in the Iron Bowl. So I'm excited to see what it's going to look like for Florida State. But I worry about Ashton Daniels' ability to beat defenses through the air. And honestly, I think Florida State fans, when they look at this schedule, they know the New Mexico State game. They got to win that one, right? And they got to look good. Then they play SMU on Labor Day night, okay? And I don't know what it is about these standalone Florida State games early in the year, but it doesn't feel like any of them have gone their way recently, right? And that's another one where they're going to be in front of the whole national audience. After the SMU game, they play an Alabama team they ticked off last year, and they go to Tuscaloosa to play them, right? So you can see where very, very quickly they could be 1-2. If you're interested in New Mexico State, and listen, if you watch this page, my goodness, you got to be a college football junkie. Trey Hedden is going to be the starting quarterback there. He was the quarterback last year at Furman. He was the full season starter there, had almost 3,000 yards passing, 17 touchdowns, 13 picks. Had an interception rate of about 3%, a little bit higher than what you would like. Threw a touchdown in 11 of 12 games last year. So he's not going to be lost, right? Like, this is a guy who's in control and has played a lot of football, right? Now, it's going to be different playing Florida State, all right? But he did play Clemson while he was at Furman. He was 22 of 38, 183 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick, and they lost 48-7, okay? So it will be interesting to see if he plays just as well or a little bit better when he's playing this Florida State team. Most of his interceptions last year were in 2 really, really bad games. So I think that's also interesting. So we'll see if he can avoid that. Those were against Western Carolina and Wofford, where he threw 6 of his 13 picks last year. So, look, Mike Norvell, everything, it just could go bad so fast, right? Like, it could go the wrong direction so quickly for Florida State. I think they need a sold-out crowd. They need good vibes. They need a big, big win over this New Mexico State team that they should outclass. And they need a lot of momentum. Go to play an SMU team that fully expects to compete at the top of the ACC with Kevin Jennings back again. I think absolutely this is a big one for Florida State to get this year going right. Tim Harris is the offensive coordinator. We'll see how Florida State looks this year. I do not remember expectations being quite as low as they've been for the Noles in so long. Let's move on to Hawaii at Stanford. This is one that was probably the most competitive Week 0 game last year. It was on CBS. It was on national television. Hawaii and Stanford. Do you guys remember it? It was a field goal game at the end. Very fun game. The first thing I'll tell you is they played 5 times. Okay, all of those games, except for this, or let me back up. All of those games were won by Stanford till last year. Okay, and all 5 of those games have been played in Honolulu. This game is not. It's in Palo Alto. It's at Stanford. So Hawaii's got to play on the road. I think that's minimized just a little bit with it being Week 0. I love this Hawaii team. Mike Alejado is back at quarterback, 24 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He was the Mountain West transfer of the year last year. And I'm a big fan of Micah Alejado. I've enjoyed watching him play since that Stanford game last year. It's not just him, though. He's got his star receiver, Ashlock, is back, 220 career receptions, 2,288 yards, 23 touchdowns. He had 76 catches last year. Alejado last year against UNLV, Arizona, Fresno State, San Diego State, he completed 61% of his passes. They were 1-3. Against everyone else, 71.5%, 6 touchdowns, 1 pick, right? Or 6-1 record, not forget the touchdowns pick. 6-1 record, okay? So Hawaii, obviously there was a difference there when they played the better teams on their schedule, even for Micah Alejado, who dealt with injuries throughout the season. Hawaii threw on 63% of its plays, 5th highest in the country. You'd love to see more balance, but they have their head coach back. They have their offensive coordinator back. They have their quarterback back, okay? Top receiver back. There's a lot to love about this Hawaii offense, I'm telling you. Stanford started to kind of come together as the year went on last year. And they've got a new quarterback too. Michigan transfer Davis Warren comes over. He's got 9 career starts. He's going to be your starter for this game. And I think there's a lot for Davis Warren to prove because he has not really thrown the ball down the field, which is what I really want out of a quarterback. I don't want somebody who takes huge risks all the time, but I want a quarterback who has the ability to stretch a defense, right? Like I don't want to see dink and dunk all over the place. He has a 64% completion rate, but 5.7 yards per attempt and a long pass of 36 yards, okay? So where are the big chunks going to come from for this Stanford offense that did not have enough of them? They just did not have enough last year. This was a team that just did not score enough. 18 points per game last year. Got to be more than that. Got to have more than that this year. So, we'll see what Tavita Pritchard and this team can come up with. But I'm telling you, Timmy Chang and Hawaii is a team I love out of the group of 6 this year. I don't know how good the defense is going to be. Got to be better than it was last year. But I love that offense, and I think they're going to be a tough out. Let's go to the last game of week 0. This will be the one that you're laying there watching after watching hopefully all 7 games before it. I know I will be. And watching maybe the best game of the weekend. Really, I've said that, maybe the most consequential. I said NC State, Virginia might be the most important. But Memphis and UOB might just be the most fun. Like, just lay back and watch it. It's on Fox, I believe, that night. This is going to be fun. UNLV has scored 20 points in 34 straight games. Memphis had done it and had the longest streak in the country before losing to Navy toward the end of last season. Jaden Thomas is the star at UNLV, has over 30 rushing touchdowns in his career. Now back with the running Rebels again. They've also got Jackson Arnold at quarterback. You probably remember Jackson Arnold. He was at Auburn. He was at Oklahoma. In reverse order, Oklahoma first. Dude can run for days. I mean, he is a bolt of lightning when he runs, okay? Passing, got to work on it, okay? I've said that. Takes too many sacks. Doesn't stretch the defense enough. But Memphis is going to look a lot different, okay? This is a team that's bringing in a brand new head coach. Charles Huff, he's a brand new coach to Memphis, but Charles Huff is certainly not a brand new coach to the FBS level. He won it at Marshall, got Southern Miss quickly on the right track, a program that had not won enough recently. And now he's at Memphis as he continues to just kind of move up the group of 6 ladder. I wonder how long it's going to be before Charles Huff gets a chance with the FBS program. I guess it depends on how things go with the Tigers. Listen, I think the Memphis quarterback situation, you got Aaron Noland and Marcus Stokes. Noland was an Ohio State guy who went to South Carolina. Marcus Stokes is from the University of West Florida. If you don't know a lot about the University of West Florida, it's very close to where I live. This is a program that is quickly moving up in level and is building very fast. And Stokes was a star there. Had almost 3,500 yards passing, 30 touchdowns, 13 picks in 2025. And Noland has never thrown a pass in college, okay? Stokes also can run it, had over 360 yards rushing, 10 touchdowns. 40 touchdowns in 12 games, 3.3 per game for a 10-2 team he expects to win, right? This is a kid that expects to win, even with a brand new looking Memphis roster. Dan Mullen and UNLV, I think, expect to be in the playoff. They expect to be the group of 6 representative. Feels like the group of 6 is wide open, but they only have 6 starters back as well. Austin Boyd, Will Thomas on the offense alone with Jaden Thomas, who we talked about earlier, the running back who is such a star for them. I'm excited by this one because it's hard to know what Memphis, with no defensive starters back, with only one returning starter on offense. Charles Huff keeps bringing guys with him when he transfers programs because players want to play for him, right? But it's hard to know exactly how quickly that's going to come together. It worked great at Southern Miss. It worked very well there. UNLV did not have enough defense last year, but Dan Mullen knows how to score, right? So I'm excited to see this UNLV team. I'm excited to see if Memphis is ready to really compete at the top of the American this year as well. Guys, you have been listening to the You Think You Know Sports podcast, the breakdown of Week 0. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do these kind of podcasts throughout the year, breaking down games. Hope you enjoy it. I hope that you'll hit the subscribe button, and I hope you'll go find me on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, where we have our base and our most followers. Hope to see you in one of those areas as we continue to grow this channel. I want to thank you for listening, and I hope that you'll be back when we do possibly a review of Week 0, but definitely when we do Week 1 previews in college football. Cannot wait. We'll also be doing NFL previews very, very soon. Hope to see you there, guys. Thanks for listening. Hope to see you on the next podcast.